and good afternoon, everybody. And with me live all the way from the Granite City is the Lymph Ninja, aka Nicola Arkins. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good. I'm really good. The sun is shining, so it makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. I was just saying that the absolute psychology of the sun, the good old doctor in the sky, it just is. It's just phenomenal. Give me a minute, sorry, I've got this. Sorry, I'm just trying to share this on my page because Facebook makes things so difficult now. Yeah, the sunshine just lifts everything. So obviously I've been at you for probably years to come and do something in the Central Belt, because I always tell people it's you that really got me down the lymph glymph fascia rabbit hole, and obviously your passion about it got me super excited. And I think initially when you kind of explained things to me, I did what I know so many people do. You think it can't be that easy to feel better. So can you just tell us, for people that have never met you, can you just give us a little overview of how you ended up being the Lymph Ninja?
Okay, so when I retrained about 13 or 14 years ago from a corporate job, I had initially just wanted to do sports remedial massage simply because it had helped me so much in the multiple injuries I'd picked up in the gym. And then, as we do, we find different paths. Different people, sometimes actually just walk right in front of us, and that can change, our whole direction, how, what we thought we knew or what we thought we know, then kind of gets flipped completely, upside down. So the first course that I did on the lymphatics, it was something that always kind of sparked my interest. But then when lockdown happened, I just had all this time on my hands, right? So I just started doing all these online courses. And it was when I did the very first lymph treatment on myself, because my husband was away. I was at home myself, so I had to do it on myself. And I thought, this is the misconception, right? Because everybody thinks that you have to have swelling or edema or, lymphedema or some sort of diagnosed disorder of the lymphatic system to have a lymphatic problem. And there's nothing that could be further more than the truth. Everybody's got a lymph problem, they just don't know it. So I did this treatment on myself. It was very gentle. I thought, I mountain bike, I do kettlebells, I walk my dog, I eat well, this isn't going to have any effect on me. And I had a massive therapeutic response the next day. But then the next day, all of the tension, and I would say a little bit of pain around my left shoulder, my left hip had completely dissipated. And then the little cogs started going, and I thought, oh my God, I've got all of these clients with chronic conditions that just won't clear up. And I think this is the answer. So when I was allowed to go back to work, everybody was getting lymph treatments. And the change was remarkable, and my biggest thing is I don't want clients coming to me forever. Yes, they have to come for a couple of times, but I want them to know how to do this themselves. I want them to be educated. It's not about, keeping a revolving door open. That's absolutely just not what I'm about. So I get quite frustrated with with probably more myself when people aren't getting better, because like you say, people don't think it can be that easy, and it is. It literally is. I've got a client at the moment, this is going to blow your mind. I've got a client at the moment who was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome about 25 years ago. A lot of pain, a lot of tiredness, lovely woman, absolutely just star in this planet. And I started doing some advanced lymphatics on her, right? And and she would feel a bit better, but she wasn't getting better. And I thought, this is really weird. Like, I wasn't expecting it. Like, you never know what's really going to happen, because the body's under no obligation to make sense to anybody, right? But you have an idea, and she wasn't really getting better. Anyway, so I had then spoke to her about, the amount of inflammation that would be within the lymphatic system, and, we maybe have to start then delving into doing, checking the drainage pathways of the brain, that kind of thing. Anyway, cut a long story short, what turned out is that she was not removing her teeth when she went to bed. And it was like this whole light bulb went off for me. And I was like, well, that's one of the biggest drainage pathways of the brain, is the roof of the mouth. So if you're blocking the roof of the mouth when you're sleeping, your brain isn't going to drain, right? So she basically started taking her teeth out. I can't even tell you. Like, I'll get quite emotional speaking about this, because all the chronic pain she's had in the back of her skull for 20 years is gone. Now, we've still got a long way to go. But it is simple. It's so simple. I have to say, and that really annoys me that a health professional's not checked that. Like, it's so simple. So simple.
Absolutely. It's the same with the parasites, though, and the fungus. That's
100%.
so simple to redress. And, I take a lot of credit. I give you a lot of credit for all the stuff that I teach now, because, it was you that alerted me to the huge importance. And now that I talk about very much the digestive system as a stagnant pond, as opposed to a flowing, beautiful, fresh burn. And that applies to the fascia and the lymph as well, because we can't isolate these systems. They're all working
Totally.
Beautifully together. And, I met a dentist when I was down at Stuart's 70th birthday party. He did not know that the teeth were attached to the meridian system. And there was, it was like, and we're not even getting taught that. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I know, it's insane.
So out of date. And people are suffering unnecessarily because they don't have the right information. They've had every test. And I always say, this is a lot of the stuff that I do is energy medicine. It's invisible. No endoscope's ever going to see what the voice print will show. Because as yet, our tests just miss it all. And then, of course, people get told, your tests are fine. Do you want antidepressants?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just,
and even with the anti-anxiety and the antidepressants, and I'm not, I'm really not trying to, diminish when, people feel that they're struggling. Listen, we've all had periods where we've really struggled, I get it. But I've been doing, a lot of research in the brain recently, and even the, our blood sugar, the effect that then has, our drops in blood sugar, how that affects on anxiety. So you've got, all these busy people running around. They don't understand about nutrition. They don't understand about how to fuel their body properly, and that the brain runs on glucose. They're not maybe getting, the right advice, because let's face it, there's, an incredible amount of information, Instagram, Facebook's almost saturated. But something as simple as managing their blood sugar can then make a massive impact on how they feel mentally, and how that they can then cope with stress.
Absolutely. And we're now looking at people that can barely cope with carbohydrates. Because and obviously the hormonal system goes out of rhythm. That knocks everything completely off kilter, and you can't just address it with one supplement, one vitamin, one big six. We have to look at the whole system and make sure that everything that we're doing is working towards this beautiful, clear, flowing river. Yeah, so anyway, we know how powerful it is and how simple these exercises can be. And obviously, what I want to talk about was, first of all, before we go into talk about your courses for therapists, just for the course that you're doing, Lymph Curious, £80, brilliant price for people like me and anybody else that's really curious about how they can keep their lymphatic system clean and clear. So can you just talk to that specific course first, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do apologise for my dog, who's now decided to go absolutely crazy because he obviously knows that I'm on a call. Okay, so everybody knows about the Big Six. And the Big Six is absolutely amazing for maintenance, but most of us have got much deeper blocks. So what I'm going to be doing is not only showing you how to delve a bit deeper within your own lymphatic system, but also give you the knowledge of why and what, why you're doing what you're doing, because it's about understanding more and knowing less. And that's what I teach in all my classes, because we can have all the knowledge and the big words and all the rest of it, but it's actually about truly understanding how something works, because then intuitively you're then going to know when you need to do a bit more of this or less of that, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to be working with the lymphatic system. We are not just going to be working with our hands. We're going to be using different tools, which I'm going to be providing. And that is because the skin has different nerve receptors. So, using our hands is amazing, but if we bring in other tools, then it's going to stimulate the different nerve receptors within the body. So you're going to get more lymph flow. Okay. What is going to tie in with that is I'm going to show you, specific movements that not only improve your lymphatic flow and, that you can do daily or a couple of times a week. This is all going to be very much tailored into how much time you've got. So on the day, I'll be breaking things up. Everyone's going to get a workbook, and we're going to break it up. Like, do you have 5 minutes, or maybe it's the weekend and you've got half an hour? So it's very much, you're going to have a full program that you can do a whole treatment on yourself, or you just want to get your body moving and make sure that you've got the basics, the foundation every day. Okay. The lymphatic movements is then going to tie into fascia, and I'm going to be showing you how. Not only, to release your fascia, but also body movements to help strengthen and coordinate your body so that you just feel well. Because there's so many people that, get out of bed in the morning and they feel creaky, they feel clunky, and it doesn't need to be that way. We have been conned and lied to that age, brings degeneration. We start degenerating at 21, for goodness sake. So when people say, oh, it's just my age, I'm just getting older, that's like complete nonsense.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you laughing at my dog?
Hi, Lauren. No, I'm just laughing at you saying it's complete nonsense. That's what I always say. The whole aging thing is, and I used to give my brother a rouse, I'm 50 now. I'm like, so what? What's that got to do with the price of cheese? Just totally. It's absolute nonsense. And we get more toxic as we get older. Obviously, we've been around a lot more, and then we get slower, we get more tired, and we just accept that that's aging. But what I'm seeing now is young people coming in here, very often, like even as young as 14 I've had. So that's unacceptable. We need to teach this stuff, and we need parents to understand it, and school teachers to understand it.
Yeah, and I think that's, more and more of my clients. The thing is, it's very difficult for me to fully educate somebody while I'm treating them. I can give them information, but there's only so much, in that hour or 45 minutes or whatever, that I can, while I'm actually, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because at the same time, I'm trying to get clients to relax while I'm working on them, because if their nervous systems can be as relaxed as possible, they'll get a better outcome and it'll stay for longer. But they all say the same thing to me, and that is, why are we not taught these things at school? And that's that's what I would like to know. Imagine being taught from a very early age how to be well and stay well. I mean,
I know. Health
and the brain stuff. Sorry, Lily, I've interrupted you there.
No, I'm saying health intelligence.
Yeah.
We need to teach that.
Absolutely. And the brain thing. So what really shocked me the most was when I took my mother-in-law to the GP, because we had, we knew that she'd been for a brain scan, but she had told us that, she had to go for another one, and we hadn't received any letters from the hospital. So I had taken her to the GP to find out what the hell was going on, right? And when the GP had said, oh yeah, she was diagnosed with vascular dementia last November. And I was like, oh, okay. So, I asked the question, says, what's the plan? And she said, well, there is no plan. It's just something that happens when you get old. And I was thinking in my brain, it doesn't need to be that way though. And I did say to her, I says, but it doesn't need to be that way. Like if we're removing neuroinflammation when we sleep, when the lymphatic system is, at its most active, and we're power washing the brain with the cerebrospinal fluid, then we're not going to have as much inflammation, which then means that cognitive decline doesn't actually really need to be a thing, does it? And she said to me, she said, oh, that just sounds like science fiction. I mean, we're about 40 years away from that, aren't we? And I'm thinking, I'm doing that every day. Like, what? And I get it, right? Because, at the end of the day, the lymphatic system was only discovered in 2012. So to get that into the modern medical model, we're looking probably another 30 years at least. But it's like, brain fog and perimenopause has become normalized. It's not normal. It's worrying. And you need to do something about it,
Absolutely. Can you explain for the listeners the difference between the lymphatic and the lymph and the glymph?
So the lymphatic system has, we've known about that for a long time. So the lymphatic system is a one-way system that works throughout the body. And if you took out every node, vessel and capillary, and you laid it out, it would cover over 100,000 miles, okay? So there's a lot of lymph within us. And basically what that does is it looks out, it has certain cells that will actually be lookout points for things like pathogens, bacteria, viruses, but also it just gets rid of all the cell debris that happens naturally through the cell death cycle, because we are regenerating, every second. So it basically just gets the waste out. It also manages, fluids, and it's a bit part of our immune system. The glymphatic system is basically the cerebrospinal fluid that surrounds our spine. That then goes up into the brain, and when we sleep, the brain expands, and then the cerebrospinal fluid will then power wash the brain. And then there's 3 different pathways from the brain to get all of the, again, old cells and any inflammation out of the brain. So we need this particularly for good cognitive function. There is, other aspects within that, because we have the cerebellum that sits underneath the brain, but that's kind of going into a bit too much. But basically the glymphatic system and the lymphatic system operate separately, but they almost have the same sort of basic function, which is basically just get waste out. So that, because we can't make really lovely new healthy cells if we've still got the old ones in the body. So we have to get the waste out to be able to get nutrients in.
It's the roots of elimination again, isn't it? It's just about, it's that, Brooke Poyle talks about water in, water out, water in, water out. We need to be having that constant flux of change. And I always just stand up and say to people, look, see, when I'm standing like this and my posture's great, the draining can happen. But then as soon as you sit down, you start to kink the hose, and it just becomes impossible for the body to eliminate properly, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the thing, going back to the lymphatic system, sorry, I'm diving all over the place here, but with the lymphatic system, where we have the main clusters of nodes are within, our main joints. So, our neck is supposed to move. Our shoulders, we're supposed to we're supposed to move our shoulders. Our stomach, we're supposed to be, be moving. Our groin, we're supposed to be walking, running, and then the backs of the knees, which is, exactly the same as well. But because we now live in such a sedentary culture, You know, we sit to eat, we sit to drive, we sit to work, most of us. You know, this is because people always say to me, you know, why is my lymphatic system struggling? Well, just because of life, you know.
Exactly. So that lymph curious, we're going to find out how we can keep our lymphatic system healthy and keep the flow going, yeah? And
Yes.
then, and now talk about the other two courses that you're doing, which is for therapists. One for one,
Yeah.
you talk about it. You tell it. Who are you
So
calling out to?
on Friday, the 28th, if you are a therapist that has anatomy and physiology level 3, so you might be a massage therapist, a reflexologist, a beautician, you know, facials. If you've got your level 3 anatomy and physiology and you want to learn manual lymphatic drainage, which is based on the Vorder technique, I am going to be running a 1-day workshop. And yeah, there is a couple of spaces on there. It's fully certified and accredited, so you will be able to get insurance, and you can then bring this amazing treatment into your clinic or your workspace, wherever you're working. On the Sunday and Monday, I have my very own advanced lymphatics, and that is for, again, therapists, level 3 anatomy and physiology at least. If you have completed a manual lymphatic drainage or a Brazilian lymphatic sculpting qualification, certification, it doesn't need to be with me, with anybody. As long as you've got that certificate, that is then your pathway into doing advanced lymphatics. Now, advanced lymphatics is a 2-day course. It is very, very intense, so you need to bring your brain. It's not a course where I show you a protocol. It's how I show you how to think, not what to think. And it's really going after the deep blocks. So not just the superficial lymph, which most people work with. This is really working with the deep lymphatics of the body. And very, very effective for people with chronic pain, chronic illness. Because most people that have been sick for a very long time, for example, you know, if people got hit really hard with COVID, I already know that their lymphatic system probably wasn't operating, you know, at full pelt. And certainly with long COVID, I definitely know that there's going to be deep blocks within the lymphatic system. So if you're somebody who, you know, is really interested in working with chronic pain clients or complex clients, then the advanced lymphatics is for you. It's, you know, it's mainly, I do most of my clients, I use a mixture of MLD and advanced, but also, you know, perimenopause, generally, you know, because when the estrogen drops, or starts to fluctuate, the signals that are sent to the lymphatic system change. And this is why, you know, a lot of people experience like bloating and, you know, swelling, that kind of thing. So I have a lot of clients I've helped massively that are, you know, moving into that wise woman era. And then a lot of FND.
Hey? Yes. Nicely put, the wise woman era. I much prefer that.
Well, I think that we need to be using that kind of language instead of the nonsense that's been pelted at us through social media, to be honest with you. We're being gaslit about this change in hormones. But yeah, a lot of chronic stuff, IBS, that kind of thing.
You mentioned FND there, and I've been talking to the physio, our physio kind of, she, you know, she does a lot more than that, but it comes in here about the kind of huge increase in FND. Have you seen that?
Yes, yeah. I kind of feel, I mean, I've got a lot of clients that come and see me. They've been diagnosed with all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And actually, when you just strip it back and you get the inflammation out of the brain and the body, suddenly their symptoms get better, you know. So a lot of vestibular migraines that then ends up being, then they've been told that they have FND. I have clients that are under just a huge amount of stress, or have experienced a huge amount of trauma that just hasn't resolved. And again, this is about, no system works alone. So when you start looking at the nervous system in line with then, getting the chronic inflammation away, a lot of these things can really calm down. But it's difficult because, a lot of people are receiving these diagnoses, and then they're just being told, well, that's it, can't really help you.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm just laughing because Lauren, who is one of our young complementary therapists that works in here, she's like, I am mega interested in this. And I was actually thinking she is going to absolutely love this, because she's just one of these young people that's just like, what are you doing? Just so excited and fascinated by all this. I'm like, wait till you meet the lymph ninja. So she's watching and listening. So she's wanting to come on the courses when you come. So that's a great explanation now for moving forward. Obviously, somebody like me who, you're like that, come, I've got a new thing to try on you. And I'm really blessed and lucky to have access to somebody like you, not just with your knowledge, but obviously with your hands-on skills. And again, we're not expecting people to get better in 5 minutes. And certainly people that are coming here, it's, I like quite often, Laura, our therapist, our resident therapist here, people will get the lymphatic massage as well. So with the lymphatic system, how do you do like a series of massages, or how do you work it?
So if somebody's got high levels of inflammation in their brain, it's very much they need to be assessed, so I don't, when on my booking system, I don't offer a lymphatic session. It comes under advanced lymphatics, because we have, first of all, the body has different pressure systems, so I have to sort the pressure systems and the organs first before I can move up to the brain. So normally it would very much depend on the client. I mean, sometimes they have to come for 2 or 3 sessions before I'll do anything with the brain. Sometimes I will just start very slowly on like their jaw or their face on the first session. But I always assess their nervous system, and I can do that by assessing their vagus nerve, and also just how they're breathing, the rate of breathing, what are their eyes doing, there's lots of assessments that I can use. But it's very much how somebody is on the day, because more, and this isn't my quote, I wish it was, more is not better, better is better.
It's so true, isn't it? It really is.
I'm an impatient person as much as anybody. I want things sorted, so but experience has shown me, and I have made, errors in the past, not that maybe my clients would maybe think, but I've maybe done a bit too much, and so it's when it's really, if somebody's got an already overwhelmed system, it's very easy to further overwhelm it. So you need to sort of tiptoe in.
Yes, absolutely. And so many people have the chronic fatigue or, ME label. They're exhausted, and they just, as soon as you ask the body to do some detox, and it knocks them in their back. So it's a fine line that we're balancing. I know that with my daughter, she's a details person, and because she's been so unwell, she's got an Apple Watch, which is another whole other argument, that she could see the difference in her stress between reading a Kindle, looking at her phone, and looking at the TV. That was how finite she could see. The Kindle was by far the least stressful.
Oh yeah. So it's so easy to overtax the brain.
Absolutely. And also the fine line, between sunlight, the heat can be overwhelming for people that are exhausted. So yeah, it's as you say, it has to be an assessment, and very often people know themselves. If I do that, that'll happen, and that has to kind of be listened to and encouraged. But I always say, because obviously I'm putting through a lot of people through detoxes these days, because I'm seeing candida everywhere, candida parasitic infections, bacterial infections, and when the going gets tough, they stop. You're like the detox symptoms. You can slow them down for sure, but there probably is going to be a time where you're just going to have to drink water, sleep more, pack your liver, and just keep on keeping on until you come through the other side, because digestive systems are struggling. And also, if you go to the gym or you're tired afterwards, you're doing that deliberately. So there is a little bit of put a little bit of stress, and then take a couple of days off, because that's when the healing happens, whether it's a biotherapy or whether it's a physical therapy. But it's just knowing where that balance is, and how much can you push. For yourself, it's knowing all of that. And that's why I love the biotherapies and the massage, because we know, and I give people homework, and like you, it's a wee bit different for me because I'm not doing body work, but I'm educating. I want you to understand this and know this and go home and never have to come back to me unless you want to. These tests are great, but you're going to know when you're better because you'll feel great.
Yeah.
It's we've kind of got addicted to tests, haven't we? And so many people spending literally thousands of pounds on tests, and they're still not better, because unless you can learn how to manage this body of yours, self-regulate, keep your microbiome happy, keep your lymph and your lymph clean and clear, you're just going to be back in the same place, and nobody can do it for you. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I feel very very grateful, that I had a long period of sickness, illness, where I was shown nobody was coming to save me. I had to do it myself. And that's what put me on this path, and it makes you view things. It really, gives you a much, you zoom out. You're not just tunnel visioned. You really do see things for what they are. And I think probably, for a lot of people that have had to find their own path, and, almost, I always say we're our own best experiment, because, what works for one person isn't going to work for another.
I know. And, everybody that talks at our festivals has got their own healing story. And then they couldn't find any help in the kind of where you would normally go for help, started research and started getting better, and then want to tell others about it. And that's ultimately the way it's going to work now, because it's a bit like recovering addicts. Have you ever been an addict? No. Well, shut up then. Have you ever been so unwell you can hardly get out of your bed?
It's so patronising, isn't it?
I know, you're coming from that place of knowing. So for anybody that's up in your neck of the woods, Aberdeenshire, they can come to you and have an actual treatment. Where are you working from now? Are you still in the same place?
I'm working out of a gym in Muggy Moss Road, which is Aberdeen city centre. So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm pretty accessible. I've got an online booking system. My website is www.bodykinect.co.uk, and all of the information of everything that I do is on there. Also, all of the courses that I teach, lymph and fascia, and advanced lymph is kind of, it's mostly my jam, but I also teach, other courses. I'm teaching pregnancy massage actually in 2 weeks' time. So, but I just taught manual lymphatic drainage on Friday there, and honestly, it was just the best day ever. Like, I just love it.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I know that you're doing a lot of educating now, and that's what we really need. What I would like to do with the Heal Scotland funds is to help subsidise training for people and subsidise healing packages. I don't exactly know how it will work, because I think we need to bring people in from all over the country, get them taught and inspired, and then put them back into their communities to spread this phenomenally important information. So thank you for being so inspiring as always. And I look forward to you coming here and getting to spend some time with you. If anybody has got any questions, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it on a replay, ping myself or Nicola a message. I've put her personal website in there. I've put our Heal Together link in there where you can see all our courses and you can buy your tickets. And and any questions, just feel free to get in touch. Okay, Han, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lilia.
And have a wonderful week, and I'll chat to you really soon. You're welcome. Ciao.